Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, rabbi zidni ilma. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabahu wa tawakkal 'ala Allah wa kafa billahi wakila. I have a smile on my face because Fatma, exactly what you were saying, कि वो customize हो जाते हैं. I received the visual because Fatma was saying कि as we begin the session, before recording, whatever conversations we end up happening kind of mold and seep into the recorded versions as well. That's exactly what's happened because Fatma's question was, what is the point of meditation? And the session is why we are not lost. We have a purpose. And that purpose is most or more easily exemplified by believing or knowing that we have one compass to be synced into. तो फातिमा को मैं जो जवाब दे रही थी उसी मेडिटेशन का वो ये है कि ऐसे जैसे जिंदगी में तूफान आए हुए हैं और वो आते रहते हैं and we just tired of fighting storms our whole life and just tired of like firefighting as well from one storm to the other because the storms are inevitable and we're seeking a place of rest, of refuge. Yes, first of all, of refuge, because you don't want to be in the storm anymore. And the second one is of rest, that you want some aslam, some salamati, some quiet, some peace. And that is the first step that one takes back inside. And the interesting thing about, when we take that first step back inside, what we're reaching for is not to build something. So the inside universe does not follow principles of the outside universe. So it's not for us to build something. It is for us to rediscover and remember something. Sorry, I had to pause. Somebody had come in. Okay. So यहाँ के अंदर के यूनिवर्स में चीजें build नहीं होती हैं. यहाँ पे चीजें rediscover होती हैं, remember होती हैं, because we are all born and given those safety shelters and then those places of rest inside by our creator. So essentially, when we are looking to meditate, we are looking to remember what that safe space within us feels like. And because each one of us is so unique, each one of us will begin to discover कि हमारा जो way of meditation, meditation is a way of remembering. If we reframe meditation, we say it's remembering. So हमारा way of remembering based on the uniqueness of our synapses, the uniqueness of our memory paths and of our ancestral lifetimes and of our all the genetic memories that we carry, हमारी बहुत unique होगा, our access point to our safe space. And then our safe space will also look very different. For example, some people meditate while drawing, others while singing, others have to sit in a place, others contemplate a tree, others sing, others walk. Some look for it in flowers, like all these dramatically different kinds of ways of remembering the safe space is what meditation is. And I was sharing that with her, and then I received, here's what I received. I said, as if, because hamara jo hai, we're not lost, we have a purpose. Being lost feels like if you were to visualize कि हमारे पास 3 circles हैं, okay? And mostly we stand on the most outer circle, like the outer rim of the outer circle. And the reason why I say 3 circles is because, to again oversimplify things, we have been born with different kinds of nafs, but 3 primary nafs which have been referred to in Quran. So the first circle, the outer one that most of us are mostly standing on, is nafs-ul-ammarah. And it is spoken of in Ayah 12, verse 53. Sorry, Surah 12, Ayah 53. So nafs-ul-ammarah, indeed the nafs that overwhelmingly commands a person to do sin, to err, to do injustice upon themselves. So this refers to the nafs that is ruling over us. The nafs that is, because it's on the outer side of the circle, it is most in touch and most in connection with dunya, with the world. So because we are safe space travelers, right? So हमारे पास अगर 3 सर्कल है, सबसे outside circle is the one that where we are most in contact, most intimately in contact with दुनिया. इसलिए इसका मतलब है कि we are living like in very if you want to shame somebody, you say you're living in a very superficial way, but essentially it's not a superficial way. You're just living in the outer circle, which is nafs-ul-ammarah. And the outer circle is designed to and feel into designed like har cheez, like it you jump at everything. It's a very reactive circle. It's a very action reaction circle. It's a very now circle. It's an impatient circle. It's a jumpy energy. It's a frenzied energy circle, because it is most in touch with the earth, the world, which you can view or you can feel into it as a live wire. I really like that. So हम लोग उस live wire के साथ full close contact में खड़े हैं, which is nafsul amara. अब वो लाइव वायर का मकसद है हमें इनपुट प्रोवाइड करना, और हमारा इफ वी आर स्टैंडिंग ऑन द मोस्ट आउटर सर्कल, हमारा काम है उसको रिएक्शन में रिएक्शन देना. दैट्स जस्ट द वे वी आर डिजाइन. एक्ट रिएक्ट, एक्ट रिएक्ट, एक्ट रिएक्ट. Now, this act react moment, Amara, is not an easy place to be, and it tires us burns us out, tires us out very easily, because we're not designed to act react constantly. Also, because we are not designed as these space travelers, multidimensional travelers, we're not designed to live in outer circles. We're designed to experience them as any good explorers are asked to experience. अगर आप स्पेसशिप पे जाते हो, स्पेसशिप आप लैंड करो, आप एक्सप्लोर करो सरफेस ऑफ प्लैनेट्स को, पर वापस आप स्पेसशिप पे आओ. प्लैनेट में तो नहीं ना रह जाना, बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव द रिसोर्सेज, यू डोंट नो, आप वहाँ पे सांस भी नहीं ले सकते हो. मगर look at the irony, the tragedy, and actually also the comic factor of it, कि हम लोग उस we are not created to breathe in the environment of dunya, and yet that's exactly what we're trying to do our whole life. And when we find ourselves to be short of breath, our hearts palpitating, and us being unable to rest, us being unable to switch off, us being unable to disconnect, we go to doctors to help us. But essentially what we're doing is we're inhaling, and we are constantly in an environment where we were just meant to explore the outer rim. It's like the outer edge of space. We're just meant to explore it, not stay there. And as we to survive, because we don't, most of like, we have the outer circle, then we have the middle circle, then we have the inner circle. Most of us stay in the outer circle, not because we don't know of the inner circle. You see, agar outer circle was it, were it, if the outer circle were it, then this restlessness that we feel for a place of rest, which is the innermost circle, would not have been there. And therefore, we would have been happy as AI would be. Artificial intelligence would be happy, because artificial intelligence is designed for outer circle. See, we're not designed for outer circle. Artificial intelligence is happy being in the outer circle. उनके अंदर रेस्टलेसनेस और डिसईज नहीं हो सकती है, बट वी आर नॉट डिजाइंड फॉर दैट. अगर हमें रिमेम्बरेंस ना होती, एक नोइंग ना होती ऑफ आवर इनर मोस्ट सर्कल, which is the inner, which is nafs-ul-mutmainnah, which will come to, तो ये मसला ही ना होता. बट हमें एक टग है, this tug that we feel. So now, even more, now the visual imagery is becoming even more solid. So we are explorers who've gone on to explore space. We're right now on the outermost circle, which is the nafs-ul-ammarah. And then nafs-ul-ammarah, we have a breathing and oxygen cord attached to the innermost circle as well, because our mothership is a very compassionate mothership, and the captain would never let us leave the ship without that oxygen cord attached to us, which is going to keep feeding us the actual essential nutrients that we need for our actual essential existence soul. क्योंकि हम तो कभी explorers हैं, हम लोग इस दुनिया के लिए नहीं बने, right? So here's the journey. We're on the अब वो outer circle में, although we have that cord attached to the mothership, but because we are in constant touch with a live wire, and we're constantly restless, and that restlessness feels like we're constantly literally hopping. On the inside, we're hopping all the time. We're always in motion. Inside, we're not at rest. And this hopping is in search of something. And mostly when you ask people, what are you looking for? The answer would be, I'm looking for myself. Okay. When we say, what do you mean when you're looking for yourself? If you kind of dig deep and deep and deeper and deeper, you begin to understand that they are looking for a place to belong. Somewhere. Why do we love these WhatsApp groups? What is the nature of social media? What are the nature of closed groups? We want to be a part of something. We want to belong somewhere, because we understand that we are the singular explorers right now on the outer rim, but we also see other people around us, and somehow we feel our deep loneliness within ourselves as well, but we also want to be with other souls who also recognize that loneliness within themselves. So depending on who we are, we want to belong. So that belonging looks like schools first, whatever. Like pehle hum log mahallon se apni identities. Belonging is a search for identity, right? Our identity is a search to belong either way. So पहले हम लोग अपने रिलीजन से शुरू करते हैं, अपने कलर, स्किन कलर से शुरू करते हैं, फिर अपने मोहल्लों से शुरू करते हैं। जब हम ज़्यादा और यूनिक, ज़्यादा डिसर्नमेंट में आ जाते हैं, स्कूल्स पे और स्पेसिफिक हो जाते हैं और फिल्टर करना शुरू करते हैं, तो फिर हम लोग उनको और फिल्टर करना शुरू करते थे. So we always looking for these places to be a part of. But all the places that we're looking to be a part of are still on the outer circle, are still on the outer circle. And you'll notice that as we spend most of our lives on the outer circle, the places that we try to belong to would change from one year to the other, because this is not the place where you're meant to belong anyway, but we don't know that yet, right? So it's okay. So first, sometimes we'll try to belong in this group or then that group, and then we'll subscribe to this movement, and then we'll subscribe to that, that particular artist, and then that aficionado and that coffee lover. Then we're experimenting all the time, trying to fit in. But in most of those moments, and I can speak for myself because I've experimented a lot with trying to belong. Most of us have, I feel. Um, Even in a room full of the most, like for me, my passion has been books. So if I'm in a room full of absolute book lovers who have dedicated their life, I still have felt alone. After a few minutes, a few hours, then even a few days, if you want to, there's been a now what? I would like to leave now. I want some time on my own. So this sense of feeling lost, even in places where you are meant to belong, is a deeper sense of loss than an obvious feeling lost in a bigger canvas. Yeah, to hote na some, because the obvious feeling lost would be people who do not belong from get go. Whether those are, and the more very extreme example are people, well, actually even people in jails would belong, but people in mental health institutes, they don't really belong. That's the story that's told to them, and they tell themselves they don't belong in the bigger world. So that would be the most obvious example. But the fact that we feel lost even while being in places of what we feel to be love, what we feel to be safety, what we feel to be of some measure of permanence, whether that permanence is our marriages or our homes. हमारे साथ अगर कोई बड़ी tragedies नहीं हुई है, कभी कभी हो जाती हैं, एक चीज हो गई, उधर चीज हो गई, but then life moves on. So there is an illusion of stability here, but you still don't feel like you're there yet. You see? We don't feel like we're there yet, but we know that there is a there. But here's the thing. While standing on the outer circle, most people think that the there is beyond that circle. But these circles are designed differently. The three circles we're referring to, we are already born on the outermost circle. There is nothing beyond there. So the journey is not to step forth from the outer circle, because there's nothing beyond there anyway, although that's what they would like for us to believe, and that's what we end up believing our whole life. It feels like this, agar hum log kehte na, we're not there yet. So if we're living on the outside circle, we're not there yet feels like what's that वो नहीं होता, वो क्या होता है that when you stretch the band and then you leave it, and not a bow and arrow. Uh, it doesn't matter. I guess a bow and arrow, we can use a bow and arrow. So on the outer circle, we feel we're not there yet. We feel we can be there through our careers. So we draw out the bow, and we draw out the bow very tautly, and we launch one arrow in the outer, and then then we hold on to that arrow and we fly with that arrow, because now we're going to be extremely successful in our professions. Except that the arrow must land, and we end up dropping down into marshland, because beyond that outer circle is just pure marshland. There's nothing there. And inevitably, like a traveler who sets out for a trek in the jungle, and we feel lost, trudging through the marshland, slingshot, thank you, Fatma, trudging through the marshland, we end up retracing our steps back again to the outer circle, which is what burnout feels like in professional careers, which is what addictions and substances feel like in professional careers. Because हम लोगों ने I am not there yet, उस देर को हमने एक टैग बना लगा दिया profession. दूसरा टैग जो होता है, oh we're not there yet, although when we are still living on the outer circle, is I know more of knowledge, I know more than other people, so I will be leader, I will be teacher, I will lead. अब हम लोगों ने उस एरो को आई एम नॉट देयर येट को जो टैग बना दिया, आई एम अ लीडर, आई एम अ बॉर्न लीडर. हमने वो एरो शूट, वो स्लिंग शॉट में हम लोगों ने वो स्टोन जो है वो लॉन्च किया. वो हम लोगों ने जब स्टोन लॉन्च किया, तो हम उस स्टोन को पकड़ के आगे अपने आप को प्रोपेल करते रहे, बट अगेन इनएविटेबली ग्रेविटी है, और वो फिर नीचे गिरता है, फिर आप मार्शलैंड से ट्रच करके वापस उस आउटर सर्कल पे आते हो. And what that outer circle looks like for a person who believes they're going to lead it is they have no concept of right or wrong. They have no concept of any sense of where to go, forget how to lead, where to even go, or how to even take the next step, because they've lost all sense of discernment and direction, because they believe that the there is beyond this circle, and how they could get there was through them being a leader, which is again a fallacy. So many arrows we will launch beyond this outer circle, but because beyond this outer circle there is nothing, there is no other galaxy, it's just marshland, we will always find our way trekking back to that outer circle. Because the actual journey, the one that we are born to walk upon, the one that we are all born to take, is the journey to the innermost circle from the outermost circle. So when we begin to first realize that we are standing on the outermost circle, which is nafs-ul-ammarah, where we are constantly trying to fit in and doing anything that it takes to fit in, even when it does not resonate for us. Because in the early years of our life, when we've been teenagers, we have experimented with so many different ways of living only because we wanted to belong, even when we knew it was not for us. But then we continued because we wanted to fit in. We wanted to be a part of something and not feel the deep loneliness that most of us have felt. And the world calls it sins. And Allah identifies it as zulm. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. Sin is again a very it's a very limited way of putting what we end up doing to belong in the outer circle. Allah calls it zulm. And you know what zulm is? Zulm is, subhanallah, to displace something from its original place. Subhanallah. Do you feel it? इसका ये मतलब है कि आपने तो इनर सर्कल में होना था, आप आउटर सर्कल में हो, और आउटर सर्कल में आपने सिर्फ थोड़ी देर के लिए रहना था, टू बी एबल टू फाइंड योर वे बैक होम टू द इनर सर्कल. चूंकि आप अभी तक आउटर सर्कल में हो, इट्स अ सर्कल जिसपे आपके ऊपर यू आर डिस्प्लेस्ड फ्रॉम योर प्लेस ऑफ ओरिजिन. तो टू डू जुल्म अपॉन योरसेल्फ becomes very simple in the outermost circle. It all begins to make sense, doesn't it? When you begin to understand who we are, why we're here, and what is the energetic nature of this universe that we're interacting with as multidimensions. जाहिर है हम लोग लाइव वायर के साथ खड़े हैं, जाहिर है हमने रिएक्ट करना है, जाहिर है हमने अपने ऊपर जुल्म करना है, और ये सब कुछ इसलिए बहुत ज़्यादा जाहिर है क्योंकि टू स्टे इन द आउटर सर्कल कॉन्स्टेंटली इज अ जुल्म अनटू इटसेल्फ. because we're not meant to be there, because zulm means to displace something from its original place. We belong in the innermost circle, not in the outermost circle. Subhanallah. And so when we begin to realize कि ये तो you know, of course, when we begin to realize as feels like a privilege that may have been given to us after many years, but it's not true. Because as we are standing on the outside circle, like if I could, because there's no time and space to people's qadar and our timelines, but if we could draw a timeline calendar, तो ऐसे जैसे हर 10 मिनट के बाद एक साइन लगा हुआ है ऑन द आउटर सर्कल जो कह रहा है गो बैक होम हर 10 मिनट के फासले पे से वी आर वॉकिंग, सो गूगल मैप्स में हम लोगों ने अपना वॉक वाला बटन एक्टिवेट किया है। अगर हम लोग वॉक करें हर 10 मिनट के बाद वो साइन लगा हुआ है गो बैक होम, और एरो भी दिखा रहा है कहाँ है घर। अब वो जो साइन है looks like all of the life events, of course, all of the life events that we would ever lead, the most terrible, the most amazing, both, because both are equally valid as signs, because the universe does not differentiate between good signs or bad signs. The universe only knows signs back home, that's it. Depending on आपको कौन सी जबान ज्यादा अच्छी समझ में आती है क्योंकि आपको सिखाया क्या गया है, बिकॉज सम फैमिलीज अगेन हमारी जो जेनेटिक लिनियज है, मोस्ट ऑफ अस स्पेशली born in this culture are so prone to sacrifice and to pain and to suffering, because हमारी conditioning on this landscape through our history and through our cultural lineage ऐसे हुई भी है। तो हम लोग ज़्यादातर अपने हार्ड टाइम्स चूज करते हैं एज साइंस, बट जरूरी नहीं है कि ऐसा हो। बिकॉज रिमेंबर हजरत सुलेमान भी थे जिनकी लिनिएज में उन्होंने जेनेटिक लिनिएज डिसाइड किया था कि मैं ना अच्छे साइंस को यहाँ कह के वापस आराम से घर चला जाऊंगा, मुझे हार्ड टाइम्स नहीं चाहिए। सो दैट्स ऑल्सो अनदर चॉइस दैट वी कैन मेक। सो वो हर 10 मिनट्स के बाद वो साइंस लगे हुए गो बैक होम। नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज बिकॉज वी आर सो यूनिक, रिमेंबर द road back home is through the middle circle. We're on the outer circle, which is nafs-ul-ammarah, and the middle circle is nafs-ul-lawwamah. So the road back home is through nafs-ul-lawwamah. Lawwamah is, and this is again, it's ayah 75, surah 75, ayah 2, which is wal aqsm bin nafs-ul-lawwamah. It means to be able to tell the difference between right and wrong. That means that the feeling of guilt that comes in, the feeling of unease that comes in when you do something wrong, when you are aware, like you have to fight a battle to either suppress that feeling of guilt or fight a battle to tell yourself that it doesn't even, that you are very weak and you don't have a choice. So like nafs-ul-lawwamah is the battleground, essentially, because the outer space warrior has decided to go back home. And now to go back home, they must walk through a battleground. And that battleground is called nafs-ul-lawwamah. And the battleground is of guilt, of shame, of not feeling good enough, of feeling absolute weakness, regret. People call it dark night of the soul, whatever. This deep self-rejection, self-hatred, right? This is the battleground of the nafs. This is also the rite of passage to the innermost circle, but this is the battleground of the nafs, which is nafs-ul-lawwamah. अब इस बैटल ग्राउंड में, बिकॉज हम लोग इतने यूनिक सोल्स हैं, हमारे बैटल ग्राउंड्स उतने ही यूनिक होते हैं। एंड सो द वेज दैट वी वर लुकिंग एट टू बिलोंग थ्रू become our battlegrounds as well. So for example, the way that I wanted to belong my whole life was by being seen as somebody who is extremely unique and does not really belong, although I really wanted to belong. So the effort that I put in to be the outsider in the circles that I wanted to belong in, whether it was a way that I would dress, how I would speak, how I used to call myself blunt, but I was just cruel. So how all the tactics that I used to stand out in a crowd that I wanted to belong in. Do you see the the intricacy of the nafs? I wanted to belong in. So I used all the tactics to stand out from a crowd that I wanted to belong in. That means use all the weapons at a woman's command. That's what it means. Everything that a woman has in her arsenal to use to be loved, I used all of those weapons because I wanted to belong in a place where people would turn towards me collectively and say, wow, you are so unique. You are our leader. You are shining. And so I used all of those parts. Now, my battleground back from nafs-ul-ammarah through nafs-ul-lawwamah, my battleground looked like the dirtiest battleground in the world because nobody could judge me as much as I was judging myself. Here's what I want us to understand though, that unique battleground, first of all, the unique um, predilection that I had to belong in those particular groups. Okay, I want to stand out in a group, in a crowd, right? That unique desire won on the outermost circle. Come to the inner circle, how that turned into a place of judgment in every aspect of me being a woman, uniquely attached to it. This battleground of nafs-ul-lawwamah prepares us to step into our purpose and to our gifts as we begin to move to our inner circle. How? Because I had been asked to fight on the battleground of extreme judgment, self-judgment, and guilt and shame as a woman. I was being prepared to, in my innermost circle, work with women who judge themselves so harshly. And I was being prepared to be the safe space for a woman, no matter what she has done, because, and I still say it, because there is nothing that you have done that I have not done. Now tell me. And I don't even have to say it. My energy says it because my battleground has been that, you see. So none of this is disconnected. The fact that I wanted to be hero worshipped, and I really tried everything to stand out to be hero worshipped in a group of women, the fact that that became my battleground, which is the middle circle of nafs-ul-lawwamah, where I was asked to release all judgment upon myself for all the choices I had ever made. Can you feel into the depth of despair and the depth of hopelessness that particular battleground can be for a woman? Especially when she's being asked to fight those battles, not because uh, the outside world is finally saying you're a good girl, whatever that means, and now you can forgive yourself. No, she was asked to fight that battle when the whole outside world collectively was saying you deserve what you got, you deserve what you got, you deserve what you got. So in amongst the collective recrimination of the crowd and of a family and of your friends, you are asked to still sit on that battlefield and really meet, forget, meet and sit with every disgusting part of yourself that you had thought to be disgusting and help her feel less disgusting, at least, if not amazing, and sit with her over all the different parts of you where you had made all those decisions over and over and over and over and over again, and you're still doing it because the journey back home is never singular, one is never absolute. Because from nafs-ul-ammarah to nafs-ul-lawwamah to nafs-ul-mutmainnah back to nafs-ul-ammarah, because we are never not connected, because these are concentric circles. These are not point B, point C, point A. These are concentric circles. That means at no point are we disconnected until we have our breath. At no point are we disconnected from the outer circle. In fact, when we reach the inner circle, subhanallah, once we're on the outer circle, we feel lost, we want to belong, we begin to understand that we begin to do a lot of zulm upon ourselves to try to belong. Then we begin to find places and moments in our life which feel so hard and so cruel that you just want to sit down. The moment you sit down, the moment you completely give in to the darkest night of your soul, either you're given a choice. You fight this battle now, or you drown deeper. So drowning deeper means you can go back to the outer circle, but fighting this battle now so that you can go to your inner circle. So for some of us, or most of us, inshallah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah, Ameen, for most of us, we decide to fight that battle. And we sit there for a long time. And as we sit there for a long time, we already begin to find the paths back to our inner circle, which is nafs-ul-mutmainnah. And I'll explain what the inner circle feels like, which is the point that all yogis and all people of meditation like to reach through. But that's why we don't spiritually bypass, because you can't reach this point without having gone through nafs-ul-lawwamah. You can't do it. You can't jump from the outside circle. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't jump from the outside circle to the inner circle. If you are in an illusion. If you are pretending, because you have to go through that battleground. And the battleground is the most purifying place and the most grueling place you'll ever be in. But that battleground will prepare you to never fully believe in the fact that you ever need to belong in the outer circle again. This battleground will prepare us to finally step fully into our nafs-ul-mutmainnah so that we can step back into nafs-ul-ammarah. Not nafs-ul-ammarah, but the outside circle, but this time with nafs-ul-mutmainnah. You see, the purpose is always to go from the outside circle to the middle circle, back to the inner circle, so that we can go back to the outer circle and become, which were what most prophets were, shepherds. Subhanallah, क्या थे? Carpenters थे यार, shepherds थे. Because उनको पता चल गया था कि यहाँ से, when they were born in the outside circle, they knew that there is no there. So from a very beginning, they were enabled to, by Allah, they were enabled to tune into the nafs-ul-mutmainnah. The more they tuned into the nafs-ul-mutmainnah, the less they wanted to get there and get anywhere. The more they didn't want to get anywhere, the more they received. The more they received, the more then they were asked to step back into dunya to show other people how to also travel through the battlefield to go to their own nafs-ul-mutmainnah, because nafs-ul-mutmainnah is a uniquely beautiful place for each of us, but it is also what Allah refers to as Darus Salam. What is Jannat? Allah Ta'ala refers to Jannat as Darus Salam in Quran, right? Darus Salam, a place of dunya, a place of peace, of salamati, which is in fact what nafs-ul-mutmainnah is. And nafs-ul-mutmainnah, again, spoken of so gorgeously in Quran. And Allah Ta'ala said, to the writers it will be said, O reassured mutmain soul, O reassured soul, return to your Lord well pleased and pleasing to him. Subhanallah. So nafs-ul-mutmainnah has two components to it. Once we begin to find the art of releasing and forgiving ourselves more compassionately, nafs-ul-mutmainnah has two components to it. The first one is we begin to be at peace with the hukam of Allah. Whatever happens, happens. Whatever is. We will not find it. The art of surrender is built into nafs-ul-mutmainnah. Aapne kaha, kafi hai. Return to your Lord well pleased. Whatever you are razi with your Rab's raza. You are mutmain with it. अगर आपने किया है, क्योंकि आप तो सुभान हो, आप तो गलत कर ही नहीं सकते हो. And because you have not even because what is the other thing? Not from an apologetic way, but in fact from a positive affirmation way. It's because you have designed it. I am pleased with it. So return to your Lord well pleased. Anything आप बताएं, आपका क्या हुक्म है, और मेरा हुक्म, मेरा फर्ज वो है जो आपका हुक्म है. So that is nafs-ul-mutmainnah and also pleasing to him. And Allah then says, वही जो इकबाल ने भी कहा है, पहला कहेंगे नहीं आप बताओ, नहीं आप, because आपको इतना प्यार है, अल्लाह ताला से इतना प्यार आ रहा होता है आप कहते हो अल्लाह ताला आपके में बारी, आपके में सदके, आपके में बारी। अल्लाह ताला से नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैं आपके बारी में आपके सदके। आप अल्लाह ताला से कहते हो आप बताओ, अल्लाह ताला से कहते हो नहीं आप बताओ। आप अल्लाह से कहते हो आप बताओ, अल्लाह ताला से नहीं आप बताओ। फिर आप खामोश हो जाते हो बिकॉज आपने नहीं बताना। सो दिस इज नफ्सुल मुतमईन, बट इन दिस, अब इस ये जो हम लोग इनर सर्कल में आने का एक पर्पस है, और वो ये पर्पस है कि when we have come to the inner circle, in fact, what we have done is the the rope that was attached to us, the cord that was attached to us as we were exploring far away from our mothership to the outer circle of space, we have come back to that center, and the cord is very short now, right? So it doesn't, so that means that by the cord being short mean that you're aware of the fact, pehle to outer circle mein pata nahi tha hamari cord hoti hai, but you're aware of the fact that you have a cord, and you're aware of the fact that this is the one that guides you home. Now this cord with which you are now meant to go back into the outer circle, because you will always be multidimensional travelers. You will always be explorers. You're not meant to sit in this circle. You're not meant to just receive and receive and receive and not give. So you are meant to walk back into the outer circle. But by the time that you, in the way that you're now meant to walk back into the outer circle, you are asked to be aware of one thing, which is the cord that you have. And the cord that you're asked to be aware of is what? Hikmat, hikmah. And Quran, ya Azizul Hakim, Quran is hikmah. Hikmat, and we've gone through this before, but I wanted to go through this again. Hikmat, the lexical meaning of hikmat, see, is the horse's bridle around its mouth. Hikmah is also the lower part of the human face, ha, ka, ma. Hikmah also in the same ha, ka, ma, hikmah ke andar is the word akal. Akal is within akada. Akada kya hai? To tie something up, to tie a camel, the rope used to tie up a camel. So if you feel into the energy of hikmat, it is something that holds things together to prevent them from falling apart in a similar way that our jaw, the lower part, hikmah, which is referred to as the lower part of the human face, holds the human face together, holds us up like this place, hikmah, the same way the rope that is used to tie a camel prevents it from wandering off and getting lost. So the rope, that the energy which is meant to keep things from falling apart, the energy that is meant to keep holding things together, is hikmat. And it is this hikmah which is Quran, which is the energy, the frequency of Quran that we are meant to walk back into onto the outer circle and into the outer circle with. But now, the energy that you're vibrating with is again the shimmer that we were speaking of. You're shimmering. But because, okay, you're shimmering gold and you're shimmering silver or you're shimmering blue, whatever your shimmer feels like, you step out into the outer circle. Outer circle is dusty. Outer circle has a lot of otherworldly elements, otherworldly to you. Otherwise, ये बहुत normal दिखती है दुनिया. बहुत otherworldly elements हैं. It has suction pipes also because में वो है designed to suck off shimmer. फिर sometimes it's designed to blow off so much dust that it settles over your shimmer. So the way that you'd like to shimmer, the way that you're used to your shimmer in nafs-ul-mutmainnah, उस तरह की हमारी उस वक्त 100% 24 hours of shimmer नहीं रह सकती है in the outer circle. So then what are we asked to do? We're asked to remember, you can always go back to refresh, to recharge, and to reconnect with your shimmer. One. Second, to never take your eye away from the fact, to never be so self-satisfied as to say, मुझे तो nafs-ul-mutmainnah का पता है, अब तो मैं दंदनाती फिरूंगी in the dunya. Never take your nafs for granted. Never take your journey for granted. Never take your memory for granted. Work at it every day. which is again everything leads us back to one hikmat, one. और वो क्या है? One, come back home to me, come back home to me, come back home to me. We are never, the realization that we are never truly home until we are in fact physically in his Darul Salam. So this entire concept of finding Jannat on earth or this heaven on earth cannot be true. Cannot be true because this is not Jannat. This is not the place of rest, but you have access to your place of rest, which is your Darus Salam, which is your nafs-ul-mutmainnah. And that becomes your portal with which, or your act, or your secret ingredient with which you travel to the outer circle. But never take it for granted, because never underestimate the power of this outer circle. Never underestimate that. Because the moment we lower our guard, which is the guard of Iman, what is Islam? Islam has two components to it. There's an outer shield, which is Islam. There's an inner shield, which is Mu'min. Islam protects us, the being into the circle of Islam protects us from the outside elements, because there are boundaries, there are limits, and there's an honor that's attached to a Muslim. You cannot, and you can see that even in the social etiquette, you cannot cross a line with a Muslim in a civilized society, which of course is a complete illusion. So I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But, it's designed to give us a boundary of an external sort. But Mu'min, there's an inner boundary, which is Iman. So there's Islam and there's Iman. So as we travel back, shimmering onto and into our outer circles, remember the practice of Islam, which is your outer boundary, which means the bare minimum that we can do, whether it is the zikr. By bare minimum, again, I am being judgmental. So subhanallah, na'uzubillah minash shaitanir rajeem, and subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah al-azim. Whatever we feel called and enabled to do. जिक्र है, सदका है, नमाज है, रोजा है, ज़कात है, सब कुछ करो, इसमें से कुछ एक कर लो, but always be in guard on the outside by these outside elements designed to protect you in the outer circle, oh multidimensional traveler. And then there are inside elements designed to protect you, to not help you, to not let you forget where you come from, to not let you forget your place of shimmer. And that inside thing is Iman. That inside thing is how we speak of our Creator. The inside thing is what we feel, how often we meet Him. This inside thing is हम लोग कितनी confidence के साथ उनके साथ गिले शिकवे करते हैं. That inside, that Iman that we asked to build on the inside. The inside thing is how often we can forgive ourselves, because our ability to forgive ourselves continuously is directly proportionate to our understanding and our knowing of our Creator, because He is Ya Ghafurur Rahim. तो अगर हम लोग अपने आप को forgive नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, again and again and again, as often as it takes and as long as it takes, then I would invite us to ask ourselves this one question: which part of Ya Ghafurur Ya Rahim, that my Allah has the most beautiful, consistent, and deepest mercy ever, which part of Ya Ghafurur Rahim am I not being able to fully accept? Because this is who He is. He is forgiving you, you're not. So this constant practice of Iman, which is tawakkul, which is asking ourselves on the inside, because we are loved exactly as we are at all times till our last breath. So if we are judging ourselves, then we need to ask ourselves, which part of Ya Rahman Ya Rahim I do not understand. Then go deeper into understanding Ya Rahman Ya Rahim. अगर अपने आप से battles करना आसान है, ये है कि जो मुझे, whatever you're not being able to give yourself, see what is it that is making you believe that about your Creator. Because if you can't give it to yourself, that means this is your limiting belief that you have about your Creator. It's really as simple as that. हो नहीं, मतलब क्योंकि वो तो forgive कर चुके हैं ना, आप नहीं forgive कर पा रहे हो, तो आप ही का ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अंता सुब्हानक इन्नी कुन्तु मिनज़ ज़ालिमीन वाला मामला वापस आ गया. So, oh multidimensional traveler, remember that we are on the outer circle. Remember that we are on nafs-ul-ammarah. Remember that we are on act-react mode. mostly. And remember, that's how most people operate. But also remember, all people have cords back to the mothership. And remember, very few find it in themselves, find enabled to, which is always the karam of Allah, which is always the karam of Allah. Because again, it's easy to carry the sense of disdain, which I've carried for a long time within myself. That's why it's so easy for me to identify it, right? कि मैंने तो in the hardest times I could make this choice. I don't know why she can't. In the hardest times, Behan, you did not make the choice. In the hardest times, you're enabled to make that choice. So let's be cool about that. And let's really look at the karam of Allah, which has nothing to do with you. It has a lot to do with your jah, your desire, but nothing to do with you actually being able to activate that desire. We can have all the desires in the world, but the activator of that desire is Allah. Right? He is the only one. He is the master of change and the enabler of change. So we have nothing to do with this. So begin to, oh, multidimensional traveler, we're in the outer world. We are fighting, we are responding. We try to fit in. We do a lot of zulm on ourselves, which is a fact of life, which is a rite of passage also. We've done the zulm. We know that we have a cord attached. We find ourselves unable to answer a call, one of those moments in our life, and we enter into the battlefield of our nafs, which is nafs-ul-lawwamah. And it's going to be the hardest battle you'll ever fight. And it's going to be a battle that you will never stop fighting. And if anybody tells you, even your own self, that you have stopped fighting that battle, reject that, because there is always a deeper part of that battle that will come up to be fought. But here's the good news, because then you are become such a beautiful warrior of shadow and light. You've just become so fully trained that when another shadow comes up, you're like, okay, let me get back to you after my cup of chai. So you're right. And then you don't fight a battle with it. You begin to sit down and you have conversations with it and you begin to integrate it without big things happening. So it just becomes easier and easier and easier. But will there ever be a time that you will ever fully be free from nafsul, either lawwamah or ammara or lawwamah? No, no. And anybody who tells you is just wrong. Because after you go through when you reach nafs-ul-mutmainnah, which is a place that is your birthright, it's not something that you have created. It is not something you have cultivated. Sorry, it is not something you have created. It is something that you're asked to cultivate. सब कुछ है आपके पास, आप उसकी गुदाई करो, अब उसमें फूल लगा, उसमें बीज बो, उसको पानी दो, वो आपने करना है. You are the gardener to your nafs-ul-mutmainnah. But with that, you have to step back into the outer circle. And through this whole dance, there is one compass, one constant compass that will ensure that you never get lost between the three circles again. And even if you choose to stay a while, and this is what I really want us to give ourselves the grace to do, कि अगर हम लोग we have accessed nafs-ul-mutmainnah and we have ventured out into the outer circle, and we find ourselves being faced with the same old friends and the same old foes and the same old habits, and we find ourselves wanting to stay there for a while. Even then, there is one compass, if we can keep it constantly lit, because this compass is not designed to help you travel through the stars and the cosmoses. It's designed to help you, it's auto set to help you auto land back home, no matter where you are, which is a simple thing. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And la hawla wa la quwwata, again, remind yourself as to who is standing witness over you at all times. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah se pehle bhi ek step hai actually, which is ash-shahid. The one compass, ash-shahid, the one compass who is standing witness over you at all times. And what is the energy that Allah is standing witness over you with? If so, for example, if you decide to stay a while, what stay a while in the outer circle would mean that you've relapsed into your older habits, into your our older addictions, whatever that so relapse moment हुआ है, उस वक्त पे उनकी आंखें बंद करने की कोशिश मत करो. In the worst moments of our life, in the times that we are doing the worst things to ourselves and upon ourselves, let him still stand witness over you, because I swear to God, he is not standing witness as a judge and as a jury, but as your lover and as your beloved who is saying, I am here, one who is rooting for you to get through it, one who is absolutely there with this melting form of water and love and honey, even in the moments that you're doing the worst things of your life. Do not shut his eye, because him calling him or making him to be a witness upon you, it shifts the vibrations of the universes. Because when you consciously call him to be a witness upon you, remember yesterday what Allah Ta'ala says, when my slave is called to me, now it is between me and him. When you have called a witness upon you, which is the creator of all universes, he will not let another witness stand in that moment. Because right, we know otherwise we have an entire universe that stands witness to everything that we do as per his command, whether those are angels or our own bodies and our own body organs and our tongues, everything stands witness upon us. But when you call upon him as your witness, he will release all other witnesses. And you know what that means? That means now it's between you and him. And when it is between you and him, then no matter where you are and no matter whatever you're doing, no matter how filthy it feels like to you, because for a person who has, for example, quit smoking, lighting another stick cigarette could be the filthiest thing in the world. A small example, and then the biggest example also. Whatever thing that you're doing, because you have called him at the time that you're about to do that thing. And I mean it, because if you have accessed nafs-ul-mutmainnah, that means you know who your creator is. If you know who your creator is, then when you are calling him upon to be a witness upon yourself, when you're calling him to be a witness upon you, you are calling out for help. It does not mean that you are going to stop doing what you're doing in that moment. But it does mean that as you have done it and you're on the other side of that moment, and because he was standing witness over you, you can go back to him and you can ask, do you hate me? And he will say, I love you more. It's the shutting out of him. It is the Iblis part of us that wants to shut him out. It's the stubborn, it's a guilt part of us that wants to shut him out. It's the shame part of us. Do not shut him out. Because when you do not shut him out, you will see that in the most shameful of things, he is not ashamed of you. In the most shameful moments, he is not ashamed of you. Because in that moment, it's between you and him. And who is he? Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. All mercy, all mercy. Subhanallah. He's created the universe to stand as a witness to his mercy. So who you've actually called upon to stand witness over you is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So the one compass that we 100% as much as possible, the one compass. For me, the invoker of that compass is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. After, like, it has not helped me at the time that I wanted to do things. La hawla wa la quwwata is more of, I guess, in a life stage, journey, la hawla wa la quwwata helps us sustain a form. It helps us avoid things. When you're in the middle of things, it can only be A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and again Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Even when you're in the middle of things, it's a circuit breaker of sorts. But even then, if you don't find ourselves, if you don't find yourself to be able to do it, it's okay. It's okay, because those circles are not going anywhere. You're still a multidimensional traveler. Your creator has not abandoned you. Your creator is still Ya Rahman Ya Rahim. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. If you're alive and you have your breath, you have the moment after that, and you have the moment after that. The only thing that we're asked to do is not shut him out. Not shut him out. Because shutting him out is absolute darkness. And shutting him out means living in the outer circle. And that's something that none of us, our generations, our cultures, our societies, none of us can afford to do anymore. We can't afford to live in outer circles because they are very, very hard place to live in. And we can't live there, and we shouldn't have to. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's exactly 111 as we're entering. I love this so much. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.